Welcome to the Tune Under podcast. We are Australia's original, the Southern Hemisphere's original Newcastle United podcast. And today we've got a seriously big time difference with my guest. So I'm talking to Michael Collier of Terminus Legion, which is an Atlanta United official supporters group. It's almost 10 o'clock in the evening in Brisbane, and I think it's almost 8 o'clock in the morning in Atlanta, isn't it, Michael? How are you doing?
Yeah. Hey, I'm doing fine. Good to see y'all. Yeah, it's about 20 till.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, so it was a little bit of a logistical challenge to get this one on the go, but we're pleased to have you on, and we're going to be talking about Newcastle United's new chief executive officer, which is Darren Eales. That was announced last week. He's been with Atlanta United since before they started in 2014. So we're going to get a bit of an insight into what he did at Atlanta and the success he brought to them, what he might bring to Newcastle from a fan group who have got first-hand experience of it. But first of all, just to kind of set a little bit of the context about Atlanta United, sort of soccer in the United States. What is Atlanta like as a kind of sporting city then, Michael? I think the greater region has got a population of about 6 million or so. So what's the kind of sporting heritage in Atlanta before the football started?
Yeah, so Atlanta has a long history in sports. All of our in America we call them the Big Four. So baseball, football, basketball, baseball. They all started around 1960s, late 1960s. We did even have a professional soccer club at the time, the Atlanta Chiefs, which in one way, shape, or another, kind of are now the Kaiser Chiefs out of South Africa. But we have had a long history of sports and not much to show for it. Let's see, we had the Braves win in '95. The Atlanta Braves, the baseball team, they just won again the World Series. Football team, the Atlanta Falcons, has been to the Super Bowl twice but hasn't won. Our basketball team, the Atlanta Hawks, they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals twice but has never moved past that. And then we had a hockey team, the Atlanta Thrashers, that moved to Winnipeg. We also had the Atlanta Flames, which moved to Calgary back in the 80s. And neither of them won a Stanley Cup. And so, like I said, a lot of history, nothing really to show for it.
It's a funny concept for British sports fans for clubs to just kind of up sticks and move to a different city altogether, but it sort of happens fairly regularly, doesn't it, in US sports?
Not like super regularly, but it is a common thing. Actually, our baseball and our basketball team both relocated to Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves were originally the Boston Braves, and the early 1900s moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, were the Milwaukee Braves for a while, and then moved to Atlanta and have been the Atlanta Braves ever since. And then our basketball team was originally the St. Louis Hawks and moved from St. Louis down to Atlanta. But yeah, the movement of teams is such a drastically different concept than anywhere else in the world. Like you kind of see that with MK Dons and Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, yeah.
And so that's like the closest thing that British have concept of. But yeah, it's fairly common here.
And that was such a controversial thing at the time. In Australia, actually, it does happen a little bit. There's been mergers with Aussie rules football clubs who've relocated a bit. So it's a little bit more sort of like that here in Australia. But Atlanta itself is I've read it's kind of like quite a transient sort of city. So you've got people coming and going a lot. So the city itself is kind of populated by people who support all sorts of different clubs from all over the place. Is that true?
Oh, huge. Yeah, we have a lot of people who've moved in. we're one of the fastest growing cities in the United States right now. We are, I believe, we're the 7th or 8th largest market for sports in the United States, and that number has been growing. And so we're a fairly large sports town, to be completely honest, and also not just with major sports, but college level sports. Um, College football, especially in the South, is the biggest sport event at all. Then you had the University of Georgia. They're up in Athens. They just won the national championship in football for the first time since 1980. And then, but yeah, besides Georgia Tech winning in 1990, there hasn't really been much excitement in championships going on. And then Atlanta United comes in and wins the whole damn thing in 2018. That was a magical moment in my life.
So tell us a bit about the kind of foundation of Atlanta United, because I think the owner of Atlanta United also owns the Falcons, isn't it? The NFL franchise. So how did kind of Atlanta United come to be within the MLS, and where did it all start? And how did it kind of get off the ground?
Yeah, so it's oddly enough, it's kind of a grassroots thing that happened here. So I mentioned on it a little bit, but Atlanta has had professional soccer before. We also had another team in the NASL when they tried to do it again, called the Atlanta Silverbacks, that played in the American pyramid. Doesn't really have like obvious ways to. We don't have promotion.
Yeah.
And so like they were technically like trying to compete against MLS. Don't want to get really too much into it because I don't have all the details there. But Atlanta United originally started as ATL wants MLS. And there's a guy here, Matt Stegall, who would just go to different festivals, like beer festivals, so on and so forth. And basically he had a tent and a banner. And was just trying to petition to get MLS to come to Atlanta. And so he'd just get people to sign petitions and stuff like that. And it really started to get a lot of steam. And then one day around 2014, he gets a call and is like, hey, you might want to be thinking about changing your name from ATL wants MLS. And so he came up with Terminus Legion. Terminus is an older name for Atlanta, because Atlanta is a major railroad hub. And so we were literally the terminal. So we were Terminus, so we just became Terminus Legion. And then we started getting a lot of supporters when it was announced that Atlanta was officially getting a club in 2014, that we would be starting play in 2017. Our membership just like exploded. And that's when approximately when I joined Terminus Legion. And like I said, with the Atlanta Silverbacks, we would go up to those games and like just kind of, I don't know, practice, if that's the best word for it. We would do tailgates, go over chants, just like get into a vibe of what it actually means to be soccer supporters, because for most people in Atlanta, it is a very foreign concept. Soccer, football culture is completely separate than anything else in America. Like the chanting for 90 minutes, that doesn't happen in any other sport. Literally all sports have breaks. And so constant action like that is like, it was really just trying to get people to understand what the whole thing was about, and it really helped grow. And as we grew as a club, we started having meetings with the front office. And so we would have meetings with Darren. He'd show up at the bar that we're getting ready for, and he knew what this club was doing, what the struggles we were going to have. as being a brand new club starting from the ground up.
Yeah.
And so he really helped with really helping us understand the business side of it, making sure that everything was I don't know, not handheld, but he really helped us lead us in a good direction, and just his availability to the fans has been like his trademark. With like you mentioned about tailgates, I know not many people have tailgates. That's a foreign thing.
It's a very American thing, yeah.
But basically, it's instead of going to a pub or to a bar before you go to a game, imagine all of your friends just like park in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And you throw up tents and you just drink in there. And so what he does before every match, he'll come out and walk around the tailgate and say hi to all the fans, like take pictures. We even invited him to my wedding. And he didn't. Unfortunately, we had a game that it was like a preseason friendly that day, so he couldn't make it. But he sent me and my wife custom jerseys and a bottle of Malibu.
That's good.
He'll do shots in Malibu in the parking lot with you.
So we're going to get into him a little bit more, like who he is and what he's kind of done. But Atlanta United won the MLS Cup within 2 years of being founded, didn't they? And that was the team with Miggy Almiron, who we know well now, and Joseph Martinez, and managed by Gerard Martino. How did they win how did you manage to win the cup so quickly after being established?
We just had a amazing team at the time. I mean, like you said, we had Miggy, we had Joseph, we had Julian Gressel in there, Brad Guzan between the posts. We had just that lineup that we had for 2018 was just such a magical, like, this is it, this is our time, let's go out and win it. It's really hard to explain. It was just the right guys at the right time, putting in 110% effort into every game, and also with Tata as our manager, like, he was so good.
Well, he'd been at Barcelona, hadn't he? And then he's subsequently gone to Mexico. Is that right?
Yeah. He was, I don't know, with all their losses, but with Mexico, manager there. And that was a little bit disheartening to lose him because all the fans really loved him. And then after that, we had Frank de Boer, which I'll die on the hill that Frank was actually a pretty decent manager, but the style and the players that we had just didn't match, and so it is what it is. But we had that 2018 season, we just had everything going for us in the best way, and it was all really orchestrated by Darren. And so now that he's going to be back with Miggy, there's going to be people at y'all's club who's going to have an understanding of how Darren loves to run his ship. And it's going to be really good for y'all. I'm glad with the success that Miggy has had in Newcastle. Like, for us to see a player go to England as opposed to the other way around is fairly new concept for MLS. And so, don't break him.
No, I know that was a big deal at the time, and he's had his moments. He sometimes struggles with his end product for Newcastle, so his output in terms of goals and assists isn't that good. But he's always got a big smile, and you probably saw the goal he scored against Crystal Palace this season. It was fantastic, and so we really, we think very fondly of him. He's a good worker, and you can see that he's come from that kind of that place where he's had that success with Atlanta United. So. That's very nice. But talk to me about the Mercedes-Benz Stadium as well. I was reading up about this. This is a stadium that's shared with the Atlanta Falcons, isn't it? But Atlanta United have kind of they're in sort of the top 10, top 15 for average attendance for soccer matches in the whole world. And I was reading a thing or listening to a podcast that Darren did with the Football Co business podcast, where he was talking about the things they've done with the stadium, where they'll for some games they'll close off some of the stadium, but they'll kind of put flags down. So it still feels like it's still sold out and it still feels full and it's got the roof, so it retains that atmosphere. But the stadium itself has a record of sort of 72,000, and the average attendance is of 55,000, which is bigger than Newcastle United. How have they managed to do this with the stadium? And is it as good as it sort of looks and seems when you're reading and hearing about it?
The stadium isn't as good as it looks or seems. It's a lot better. It is the stadium itself is a marvel, and I mean, I understand. I am very biased when I say that, but
of course.
But the stadium from top to bottom is absolutely gorgeous. It's the field the seating arrangement actually reconfigures to allow American football as opposed to association football, if you want to call it soccer. So it does reconfigure. But so we have had a couple of 70,000+ games. There are times when it'll be when we have that 70,000 seat game, we'll be one of the top 5 matches in the world for the weekend. And that's the weird thing, is that when we started, nobody really gave soccer in Atlanta much of a chance, because, like I said, we already had 2 hockey teams leave. College football is king down here, and then to have soccer, you got to remember MLS is less than 30 years old. Like, we started in 1996, so like on a world stage, MLS is a little toddler walking around trying to still figure itself out. So like there's a lot of doubt when we started, and that was a big thing that Darren had to face, is that not only is it a new team in a fairly new league, but it's in a place where soccer isn't usually the most popular sport. It's definitely growing. I think soccer is now it's vying for 4th place and most popular sport in the United States right now. But he definitely understood the uphill battle that he was going to have to be faced, and so generating interest and generating just in general fan embracement of the club was a big thing, and that's one. And he did it. He came out swinging, and having it in such a amazing stadium as Mercedes-Benz definitely helps. Like, it helped get us interest in where we had the All-Star game. So the MLS All-Stars versus Juventus, we had them here, and then hosting an MLS Cup, and then also coming up with World Cup in a couple of years. Really excited that it's going to be on the world stage, because it's such a fantastic stadium. It needs to be there.
On the podcast, he was talking about the first game that Atlanta United ever played, and it was played in, I think, the College Stadium, and it was 55,000, and he didn't know how many people were going to turn up for it. And then he was hoping for maybe 30,000, and then all of a sudden it was a 55,000 sellout. That must have been some moment.
That was that is still my favorite moment from the club. Is that day, even more than winning the cup. I legitimately cried that day when we did win. But so I'm a Georgia Tech grad. So I've been going to that stadium my whole life, and seeing it filled up with that many people for soccer was mind-boggling. That whole day was a blur. So first tailgate, we went hard for it. I think we floated about 17 kegs um, in the with all the supporters for the
Yeah.
day. Um, but that first goal went on Acosta. No, crap. Why am I forgetting it right now? But I was actually on the capo stand, and so I wasn't even able to watch the match. I'm just like sitting there like telling people to, you know, and all of a sudden everybody gets really quiet, and then everybody just screams, and it was the most amazing moment that I've ever experienced when we got that.
That's
For
brilliant. Yeah.
But
So, go on.
real quick on that though, but we were going against New York Red Bull, who the previous year was vying for the Supporter Shield, so best overall record in MLS. And if it wasn't for an own goal, we would have at least drawn those guys. And for our first match, to be able to draw one of the better clubs from the previous season, that's when we knew that we had a very strong team, and this was going to be something special.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of goosebumps just hearing you talk about this, because this sounds so special and like a real ride since it all happened. But getting onto Darren Eales and a bit more in depth then. So a little bit of kind of stuff I've found out is that he played college soccer in the early to mid 90s in the US, so he had that link already. He's from the UK, obviously. He's born in the UK. He worked at West Brom between 2006 and 2010. And that's interesting for Newcastle because we've now got Dan Ashworth as our technical director, who we'll have come across then. He was at Spurs from 2010 to 2014, pretty successful time in their period. And then he joined Atlanta in 2014 as the president. I heard that he was their first hire. And then he had 3 years between 2014 and 2017, where basically, what was he doing in that time? Was he basically setting the club up from the ground up?
Yeah. That is exactly what he was doing. He was literally one of the main architects in setting up our club, making sure that we had all of the things in place. Like, we didn't have an academy team. We didn't have a developmental side or anything like that, and that has taken a while. Because, like I said, there's not really a pyramid, and it's just so originally our first developmental squad was a club in Charleston, South Carolina, the Charleston Battery, and we had a partnership with them where we would pull players up, and we'd send our players over to, if they needed game time, get real minutes over there. And then finally, he helped set up Atlanta United 2, which is our 2 side. So it does the same thing. And also he helped set up the academy. So we have all the way down, I think U12 is the youngest. It might even be younger than that. But it actually helps set up a path for kids to grow up in the academy, go through, like everywhere else. You start in the academy, and you can move up, and as you grow as a player and in age, you're able to play at the practice at the same facilities that the top squad practices at. So you have world-class facilities when you're 12, and the development forum is great, and it really brings something that really hadn't been seen in MLS before. And so that even though he's leaving, he has set the groundwork for us to be successful, for decades now after he's gone. So he really plans, he really helps plan big picture stuff. So it's whatever he does for Newcastle, he is going to make sure that Newcastle is successful, well after he's gone.
That's very good to hear. You have no idea how good it is to hear someone who's got the experience. But with Atlanta, he was even doing things like choosing the team strip and colors, wasn't he? And the badge and things like that. Or was he involved in consulting with fans about those things?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how much he was, but he was involved. And like he does try to get as much fan involvement as he possibly can, because he also understands that the lifeblood for a club is the supporters. And so he, I mean, obviously the team is his first concern, but making sure that the supporters are enthusiastic about the club, making sure that there is a open dialogue between the club uh, and the supporters. That's a big thing. Like supporters have a monthly meeting with the front office,
Mm.
where we can, air grievances, talk about how to improve, so on and so forth. And so that is key line of dialogue that we've had, and that is because of Darren. Um, he's just done so much for the club in that regard. And like I said, I invited him to our wedding, and it until they had scheduled that game, I'm 99% certain he was coming.
Yeah.
Him and his wife, and then like uh like we'll do Boxing Day matches here for us, and like that's our off season for the rest of the world. And there's this bar that hosts pretty much every game that day, and he'll just be there with everybody else, with his family, just watching his teams play. And his son's one is actually a West Ham supporter because he wants to just be rebellious. And so we're sitting there, and we're watching. I'm wearing my West Ham kit, and I go up and start talking to him. And he and I, because of his time at Tottenham, we always had like a back and forth banner about it. And especially now with my wife, she's Tottenham as well, and he sent us a little message, and he says, if a West Ham fan and a Tottenham supporter can agree to get married, then there's nothing.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of openness that he brings, which is really refreshing, because most nowadays you don't really get that. So it is something really brand new to help that fan engagement, and to help make sure that people really believe in the club, and that the club is theirs.
I saw a video of him on a booking Bronco at one of the tailgates.
Yeah.
And he was just getting flung around, and had his beer, and everyone was just having a great time. And it just seemed like he's a fun, sort of down to earth kind of person who's got that kind of common touch, and he's actually going to listen to what the fans say. That seems to very much be the reality from what you're saying.
Yeah, it very much is the reality. He also he likes to have fun engagement on Twitter. That's like anytime he sends like a real cryptic tweet, all the fans get excited, because that means somebody's being signed. And then we're all trying to figure out what the reference is and who that could possibly be. And like it's always a fun thing to do. I hope he continues that at Newcastle, where he just puts out like a like a ship emoji, and like a bug emoji, and you're trying to figure out what two things have in common and what that means to whatever. And so he does that every time that we've won a cup, no matter how big or small. He always takes a picture in bed, sleeping next to the cup. We even had a EMLS a couple of years ago, and we won the EMLS trophy for our for FIFA. And he even took a picture of like the sticker of the just like put it on, like E-ball trophy, and was snuggling with that in the bed. And then his biggest and funniest thing that he's done, though, is 2017. Our big rival Orlando, Orlando City, and they rented out a billboard near the stadium and put this giant billboard down there, and it's like Atlanta United is coming for you, like right to it. And then we go out there and beat them, like our first match ever against them. And like he really likes to talk, have a lot of banner, back and forth, and just a general, like he's also a genuine fan of the club that he supports as well.
Yeah,
so,
I noticed he's only got about 24,000 followers on Twitter. So I'm interested in when he comes to Newcastle, whether he'll be able to, because Newcastle is a one club city, and it's just crazy. Like there's so much scrutiny and there's so much pressure. Some people, players and club employees kind of wilt a little bit in that pressure, and they can't handle it. But he'll be recognized everywhere he goes. Do you think that what he's done at Atlanta, because Atlanta have got a big fan base as well, and he's probably recognized around the town. But do you think he'll be able to keep doing and replicate what he's done to an extent with Atlanta when he comes back to the Premier League?
I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. And he, like you said, he does have a Premier League experience, like West Brom, Tottenham, and so it's not a new rodeo that he's getting into. He's been there before, so I'm sure he's dealt with the pressure. Like that's not going to be an issue for him. I think with Atlanta, because it was such a drastically different experience, that maybe it can help add a little bit of that flavor to it now that having just that little refreshment of, it's still a lot of pressure and scrutiny, but not as to a level of a club that's been there for 100 years.
Yeah. And one of the things he's been brought in for is the commercial side. So to really boost those commercial revenues and get us some sponsorship deals, which is going to help push the club forward. I understand that he was involved with that a bit at Atlanta as well. And when I heard him talk in that podcast, he was talking about how if you can foster an atmosphere where the supporters are all fully bought in and they're all in, then that's going to be more attractive to commercial partners as well, because they want to be part of something that's exciting. So was he involved with the commercial side at Atlanta? Because that's going to be a big part of his job at Newcastle.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you exactly his involvement with the commercial side for Atlanta United. But I mean, yes, the more attractive the club is, the more likely people are going to want to be a part of that. And he made Atlanta United the hot ticket in it for the first few years that we had there. We had our first two seasons were all sellouts every match, which is unheard of because in Atlanta sports, because we do get grinded down a lot because of our wonderful history of somehow always choking at the end or something like that. And people always called us fair weather fans and stuff. And we having that, it just brought such a great life to the Atlanta sports scene. And everybody wanted to get involved with Atlanta United when it finally started taking off. And of course, like if that is the thing, that is the hot commodity, then people are going to want to buy in. And so I 100% believe that that's something he'd be able to accomplish.
And it sounds like he's going to be a pretty big miss. You've already said that he's set the systems and the processes in place. That's hopefully going to mean that he's not going to be too big a miss, because he's put everything in place already. But how do you think that Atlanta United are going to feel his loss when he goes?
Man, like, I mean, for a guy who is a little bit shorter than me, he has very big shoes to fill. He's going to, like, across all of Atlanta United Twitter, fan pages, stuff like that. Like, that is more, losing Darren, like, has felt like a bigger blow than losing Miggy or losing Tata, or losing like any of those other like key pieces that we had. And so it is going to be a major hole to fill. Yeah, people were really more upset about losing Darren than they were losing Miguel Almiron for a bit. And so just and it's not just because of the way that he has set up the things for us to move forward. It's just that personality that he has, the connection that he's made with the fans. That's, I think, what we're going to be missing, because he really was he was more or less the face of the franchise, for all intents and purposes, because nobody else from the front office really came down to say hi. Arthur Blank might pop up around every once in a while, like for his birthdays and stuff like that. But Darren was there every day. Like, everybody knew who Darren was. We got excited to see Darren. He just made sure that engagement was always there. And so from various reports I've heard, they're looking to hire internally. I don't know how credible that statement is for Atlanta United. So I'm not going to, say that's definitely what they're doing. It's just, once rumors are out there, I just, spread them. But it's definitely going to be big shoes, and we are going to definitely miss Darren in that regard.
And was it always sort of accepted or thought that he would go back to the UK or back to the Premier League if he got a good opportunity? Because I'm guessing that the only reason he's come back now is because he's probably been headhunted for this role, and that he's been identified as somebody who can club build. He's got that experience, and we're in a position now where we need good people in place who are going to be able to really. We're not starting from the same base as Atlanta of not existing, but there's a long way to go for Newcastle to start pushing for Champions League and to start winning trophies. So do you think he's made the move now just because you had the offer at this time?
I think the main reason why he's moving is because of the offer at this time. I mean, with the way Newcastle is moving right now, it is y'all might have a little bit more money this year than y'all have in the past.
Just a bit, yeah.
And I mean, honestly, I'm not angry that he's leaving. It makes the most sense, and it is such a at this moment right now, the position at Newcastle is probably the most lucrative position available, and like, it's really only with Darren going over there and with the new ownership, I really believe Newcastle's only going to be going up for the foreseeable future. I don't see much cases where Newcastle would be going down in any form, like with the academy in the table, being able to win the trophies and stuff like that. Like, it might not be immediate, but y'all are definitely going to start seeing the effects of Darren pretty much immediately.
And I don't know how much you know about Mike Ashley, who was Newcastle's owner for 14 years, but he went out of his way to deliberately antagonize supporters with some of the decisions he made. He certainly didn't listen at all to what the supporters wanted. I suppose you have to be careful listening to supporters because they're all different things. Not everybody wants the same thing. But so to hear you talk about the way he's kind of actively listened, he's actually gone out and got feedback, monthly meetings. This is all music to our ears. So we hope that he's going to be able to put in place what he did to an extent with Newcastle.
Yeah, I don't really have any idea why he wouldn't be able to do such a thing. That's just kind of the way he is. He's just a very genuine person, and he really does make you feel like your opinions do matter when you air a grievance.
I've already tweeted him and asked him if he'll come onto the podcast, so maybe we'll see. We'll get this retweeted and get it out and see if he wants to come on. But if you can sort of summarize then for Newcastle supporters who are listening or watching this, what is he going to what would you say the main 2 or 3 things that he's going to bring to Newcastle, in a few sort of summarized sentences?
He's definitely going to bring excitement. That's one of the things he's going to bring. He's going to make people excited to be a supporter for Newcastle again. He might even help you get the beer back on the shirt. Like it's going to be big push. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to be a Newcastle supporter for the next few seasons. That's definitely one thing he's going to bring, and he's going to bring a lot of passion to the job. He will live and breathe Newcastle for you for the years that he's with you, and he is going to make sure that everything is taken care of for you right then and there. He will put his heart and soul and into the club, and that's going to be something really fun that you're going to be able to see. And like I said, just that engagement. That engagement is going to be happy, so good, so happy for all the supporters there. It's really hard to describe it, but it's going to make you feel like you're back home.
Well, that's brilliant. I've got to try and go to sleep now, and I'm excited. But no, that is, as I just said, that's so good for us to hear after the kind of period we've been through. All I can say really, Michael, is thank you for coming on your Tuesday morning. I'll let you get on with the rest of your day.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll have to start getting to work now. So
yeah. But no, seriously, thanks. That's been really good for us. I will, in terms of the Tune Under pod, we will be back probably later this week. I think we've got an interview with Andy Sixsmith of Sky Sports. Mm-hmm. So we'll be back for that. And we'll keep in touch, Michael. If we're ever all in the UK at the same time, I'll take you to a Newcastle game, and maybe if they're playing against West Ham. And then maybe we can give Miggy a call.
Hey, yeah, if y'all are ever in Atlanta, let me know, and we'll have a fun time.
I want to experience that stadium and a tailgate party, definitely.
Will do.
All right, thanks, Michael, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
All right, y'all take care. Cheers.